What's up, boxing world? You're now tuned in to Raw Boxing Magic. And today we're going to be talking about the Tszyu versus Keith One-Time Thurman fight that came out of left field, and I'm sure it surprised a lot of people, as well as me. Let's talk about it.
And they throw the song back, for you know what, proof like the song back.
So Tszyu versus Keith One-Time Thurman. Keith Thurman will be going up in weight to challenge Tszyu at a catch weight of 155 pounds, I believe. And I don't really know how I feel about this fight. Obviously, it came as a surprise. It came out of left field, pretty much, and surprised a lot of people. But what I have been seeing concerning or surrounding this fight is that a lot of people are counting Keith One-Time Thurman out. Like, people are saying that Keith Thurman is just going to get washed versus Tszyu. And this is kind of crazy to me. And it's crazy to me because Keith One-Time Thurman ain't never been washed. Nobody never washed Keith One-Time Thurman. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. They're going to talk about the long layoff and the inactivity. Absolutely, he has that against him, and that is a disadvantage, I believe. But also, it could be a smid bit of an advantage for Keith One-Time Thurman, because although he hasn't been active in the ring, he hasn't been sustaining any damage as well. So we got to look at that, and we got to look at all the factors, the narratives that gets thrown around about certain fighters, and namely Keith Thurman. It's not making sense, because stylistically, this man ain't never shown you a dull fight. Stylistically, we've watched him time after time put hands on people, right? Now, what makes this situation different? Again, the inactivity, the moving up in weight. Tszyu will be presumably the bigger guy. I believe he stands at about 5'9" or 5'10". So he is a pretty big guy compared to Keith Thurman's 5'7", 5'8" frame. But this isn't the first time that Keith Thurman will face someone of that size. His last fight, Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios was, 6 feet? 5'11" to 6 feet? He didn't even really want to disclose how tall he was. That's how tall he is. Then you have another fight that Keith Thurman fought. It was Josecito Lopez. Josecito Lopez is about 5'11", not a small guy. Both of these guys were bigger than Keith One-Time Thurman. Now, I know a lot of people say, yeah, well, Mario Barrios, he was the smaller guy moving up from 140 and this, that, and the third. But ho. He was only small in the fact that he was sucking himself down to 140, right? He was running around being a weight bully. But he is still the bigger guy. He is still 6 feet tall. And when you've seen Keith One-Time Thurman and Mario Barrios standing next to each other, you can see the size discrepancy. So I don't want to hear, he came from 140, but now that he's at 147, you can clearly see that he's gaining and hydrating back up to about 165 or better. Easy. Now, what people would also say is this, that Keith Thurman couldn't knock out Mario Barrios, but Gervonta Tank Davis could. But you're not looking at all the factors. And the factors are that, again, Mario Barrios had to sit in a sauna for about an hour or so just to lose the weight. He was killing himself to make the weight. And not to mention, there was a rehydration clause attached to this fight, meaning that he could not rehydrate over 10 pounds, which, as I said, a person of Mario Barrios' stature and his size, that is detrimental to the fight, because obviously he needs to rehydrate around 15 pounds or better. So he was already fighting Gervonta Tank Davis at a disadvantage, and he arguably won 5 to 6 rounds of that fight. He actually did really well against Tank at a lower weight using 8-ounce gloves. Fast forward to the Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios fight. Mario Barrios opted to use 10-ounce gloves. Now, obviously, this was to take power away from Keith Thurman and to protect Mario Barrios from the standpoint of him and his team. And I understand that because you're coming from a lower weight where you're used to getting hit by smaller guys. So that is one factor that's a reality. But he fought him in 10-ounce gloves. Okay? And I don't really have to get into the difference between 8-ounce and 10-ounce gloves. There's a difference for a reason. Okay? But the difference is, in the Gervonta Tank Davis fight and in the Keith one-time Thurman fight, Keith Thurman washed Mario Barrios. He beat the shit out of him for 12 rounds. He hit Keith one-time Thurman with one good body shot, maybe one or two, in the 8th round. And that was the highlight of his night. And that was it. He beat this man and had him looking like an avatar at the end of the fight. He outclassed Mario Barrios. It wasn't close. He didn't win a round. So this is showing you the skill set difference and the skill level, that there's a gap. Fast forward to Tszyu versus Keith one-time Thurman. Thurman, his skill set is levels above Tszyu. Tszyu is straight up and down. He walks forward on a straight line. He just does your typical 1-2-3, 1-2, and sometimes a 1-2-3. He's not a combination puncher. He stalks you. He doesn't really utilize the jab in the way of connecting for points. It's pretty much just to set up the power shot. And there's no smoke and mirrors. There's no special effects with Tszyu. Now, when you got a guy like Keith Thurman, a guy who can move, has brilliant foot speed and foot movement, ring generalship, high ring IQ, he's shown the ability to change his styles and fight differently and adjust on the fly. He has punching power that Tszyu has never been in the ring with. I don't care about you talking about moving up from 147, because you have to think, when Keith Thurman is beating these guys and fighting these guys, on the night of the fight, Keith Thurman is at least 158 to 160 pounds. Let's just say he's between 155 and 160. So this is a guy who's beating these guys up at that weight. And the thing about it is, Keith Thurman is accurate. There's never been a guy that Keith Thurman has faced that he didn't put hands on and land clean punches. And Keith Thurman is the type of guy that you just can't let land clean, effective punches on you. So we're talking about a guy who can beat Tszyu multiple different ways, not just one way. It's only one way that Tszyu can beat Keith Thurman, and that's stopping him. That is the only way Tszyu can beat Keith Thurman, is by knocking him out or stopping him. And we've seen the grit from Keith Thurman. We've seen him fight with the hematoma. We've seen him hit the canvas and get back up. We've seen him hurt by body shots and still weathered the storm and didn't take a knee or go down or anything like that. And guess what he did? He came back to win the fight from being hurt by those body shots and was in control of the fight the whole time before the body shots. So we're talking about a guy, and y'all must have forgot, and Keith one-time Thurman, who has hurt every single opponent that he has been in the ring with. Let me repeat that. He has hurt, staggered, dropped, or stopped every single fighter he has ever been in the ring with as far as his professional career goes. Do I have to put the receipts up here? I think I might. But it goes to show that a narrative is dangerous. They go with the narrative, oh, he ducked Errol Spence. He ducked Errol Spence. He didn't want to fight Errol Spence. He didn't want to fight this guy. Or he's been inactive. Keith Thurman is washed up. He doesn't look the same. And there's people really saying that Keith Thurman struggled in his last fight. Somebody tell me and show me where. Because you can only be talking about the 8th round and him getting hit with that body shot. And Keith Thurman has shown to be susceptible to certain shots after he's coasting to an easy victory. So after he's beaten you about 5, 6, 7 rounds, he has tended to lose a little bit of focus in between and lets you catch him with something. But after you catch him, he jumps right back on, and guess what? He's continuing to dominate. So he's shown heart, he's shown toughness, he's shown the grit. Now, let's not act like we've never seen Tszyu hit the canvas against the guy, Gachet. I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering his name. I believe it's Gachet. Gachet was putting hands on Tszyu. Knocked him down, and he's nowhere near the skill set of Keith Thurman, who can move whenever he wants to, pot shot, run you into traps, hit you with awkward angles and awkward setups. This is a guy that is almost the total package. And you're going to tell me that Tszyu's skill set can beat the caliber of Keith Thurman? Because we have to give Keith Thurman the benefit of the doubt, and that is this. A guy is only as good as his last performance. And the last time we seen Keith Thurman, he was dominant against a guy who's in the welterweight division right now, who just beat the hell out of Ugas. He got a stoppage before that. He's actually looking good. He's looking pretty good. But was outclassed against Keith Thurman. Not a round. Not one round. And y'all want to talk about Tszyu? It's just going to wash Keith Thurman? How? I can't see it. I don't see it. I understand that there is a slight size discrepancy, but I don't think that's going to factor in on the night of the fight. Tszyu needs his opponents right in front of him. He needs his opponents stationary. He needs his opponents fighting in the pocket. That's not Keith Thurman's style. That is not Keith Thurman's style. And when Keith Thurman does not want to get hit, when he's on the move, you're just not going to hit him. When Keith Thurman is dedicated to saying, you know what, I'm going to move for the next 60 seconds. You are not touching him for those 60 seconds. Do I have to put these receipts up here? I think I might. Now, somebody come look at this. Somebody come look at this. This man, Tszyu, has never faced the caliber of skill of a Keith one-time Thurman. Now, Tszyu is a big puncher. He definitely has very good punching power. I do see that he has tightened up his fundamentals. He's gotten a little tighter, but he's still the same fighter. Straight up and down, straight line. Please, I urge you, don't be surprised if Keith Thurman pulls this fight off, because I believe Keith Thurman will win this fight. I know it's early, it's premature. We ain't seen no fighting camps, we ain't seen no training camps, we ain't seen none of that. I don't need to. Tszyu has made a mistake, because there's levels for a reason. A lot of people look at the welterweight division and they would say, yeah, that's the hot division, that's the hot division. Why is it the hot division? Ask yourself, why was the welterweight division the hottest division for years? And this is the reason. When you move up and down in weight, when you go to those weight classes, yes, they say it's weight classes for a reason, but certain weight classes, you're also going up in a caliber of skills. The skills increased at welterweight. The 140 guys were not the same as the 147 guys. Hence, you got guys like Danny Garcia, who moved up from 140 after he dominated the division and couldn't beat none of the top guys. He couldn't beat none of the top guys. Now you got guys like Terrence Crawford, who moved up and beat one of the top guys, but come on, we all know Errol Spence was washed. But I do believe a healthy Errol Spence, that Terrence Crawford's style would have still beat a healthy Errol Spence, in my opinion. But we're talking about a level difference when you move up in weight. And guess what? 154 does not have the same skill set as the guys did at 147. They fight at a faster pace. It's just a little different. So I think everything will even itself out come the night of the fight. In that night, styles will make the fight. Size, none of that shit is gonna matter. Not count Keith Thurman out in this fight. That's all I'm saying. Let's take a look at a few clips of fighters after they fought Keith Thurman and what they said. Why do so many fighters say that Keith Thurman is the hardest puncher that they've ever faced if he ain't one time already? And let's remember, Keith Thurman only had one loss to Manny Pacquiao, in which he fought to a split decision. And in that fight was the most punches ever landed on Manny Pacquiao in this Keith Thurman fight. He hurt Manny Pacquiao multiple times in this fight. And Pacquiao, after the fight, went on to say, Keith Thurman is the hardest, heaviest puncher I've been in the ring with. This is why I'm saying a man is only as good as his last fight. If in his last fight, he was still hurting guys, he's still stumbling guys, and he's still winning, you can't count him out. I don't care how long the layoff was. Now, don't get me wrong, he can get in the ring on March 30th and look like some shit. My thing is, we've never seen it. So, to expect it is really just jumping on a bandwagon in a narrative that is being pushed by people, saying that Keith Thurman doesn't have it anymore. The fact of the matter is, we don't know if he doesn't have it anymore. You gotta just keep that real. We don't know. March 30th, we will. But take a look at these clips.
It's Keith Thurman's punching power. I pick Thurman on that one.
Does Danny
have respectable power, or is it just Thurman has a little bit more?
You know, he has respectable power, but Thurman he got great punching power. So he has that punching power where he could take you out with one shot, and it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great.
Promotes himself as one time, and it didn't take one time to get me down, but I definitely felt some power from him that I had not felt from any other fighter that I've been in the ring with.
He's not the biggest puncher though, but he's the physically strong. Thurman's harder hitter than him.
Really?
Yeah, Thurman punches harder than him.
Whoa.
Yeah. Thurman has more of that thump. Spence.
He's young. I can say he's heavy-handed, man. Not like other opponent that I faced before. This guy is he can fight. He has a lot of his journey is not in this tonight. He has a lot of future to fight, and he's a warrior. I can say that because I've been fighting a lot of opponents, and this guy is heavy-handed, man.
It hurt. It hurt like a son of a bitch. It even bled.
For you know what proof like the sun. Many days